Hi. Welcome to French American TV.
Thank you.
We have today with us Brett, who I met, I guess, 2 weeks ago, about two
Yes.
weeks ago.
Yes.
And I thought I never invited someone to interview about this profession, although I did tape a lot of stand up comedy in the past, but I never spoke to one in a studio setting. So, Brett, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's
you look
fun.
good today. You look rested and happy.
Thank you.
So you must have had some good news this week.
It's all an act.
It's an
yeah,
act.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel terrible, but it doesn't show.
Really? Bring it.
I'm just joking.
Yeah,
And
you're just joking. So what else do stand-up comedians do besides joking?
some comedians do nothing but joke, and they never turn it off. And then there are others of
They
us
forget to go back to normal.
who, yes, they're not able to go back to normal, or they go to a depressed mode, which is not always the
It
best
happens?
to be around. A lot, yeah.
Does.
It's part of the personality, and I don't know if it's an absolute requirement, but it seems the more kind of joyful, happy, and fun people get, the more they have to balance with the darker side.
Really?
So that's
So when you are with your family, sometimes you joke too?
yes.
You do?
I'm generally the one causing the laughs and responsible for any upset that follows.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
What if the family wants to be on a serious mode?
Then I'm pretty quiet, and I can be serious as well.
Okay.
But I can remember being in trouble with my mother when I was very small.
Yeah.
And
she
making
would
her
say,
laugh.
"Stop joking."
No, well, actually making her laugh and being out of trouble very quickly. And so that may be where my comedy began. I was lucky to have a family with a good sense of humor who was ready to laugh a lot themselves. So I had practice growing up.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So you were raised in Seattle, in San Francisco, you said?
In the Bay Area, Pleasanton.
Area.
Yes.
Okay. And so I heard a story like this of someone who started very young, and that was the person who passed away 2 years ago. Was his name Robin Williams? He said he started very young.
He showed early signs of talent, I think, and yes, there's been TV programs that show that he was, by himself. He was very imaginative and creative,
Yeah.
and from an early age. Andy Kaufman also
And
showed
then his
that.
mother pushed him in that direction.
That I don't know.
Okay.
What
Did anybody in your family push you in that direction?
I don't know if I was encouraged to laugh or to be funny besides just the laughs that we had. We had good humor in our family, and so we enjoyed many laughs. And so I was encouraged in that way. But I wasn't encouraged to become a performer or go into show business of any kind. No, I came into stand-up comedy when I was 39 years old. And it was I had been working just very regular 9-to-5 jobs and had become very bored. And I wanted
You
to
decided to go in front of the public?
I wanted to do something very different. I wanted to sort of run away and join the circus, as the saying goes.
How did you try your first gig?
I went to a comedy school here in San Francisco that was operating at the time, and
The one on Sutter?
this one was on. I'm trying to remember. It was near the ACT Theater. This school, and so we had classes, and it was a very friendly, kind of fun environment, and so I was able to go on stage there for the first few times, and they had invited public audience to come see us, and
The ACT is right here, close by here.
yes, I can't remember. I can't think of the streets now. Mason and Geary.
Oh, I know that school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went there, and they were just starting that school, right?
They had been in business for a time, and they were pretty good at it, and so we had fun, and it was a very safe kind of private environment. But eventually one needs to move on and get into the larger world of comedy. So I started going to shows that are here in the city that are more open to the public. They're in coffee shops and delis. There's a place here in San Francisco called the Brainwash, which is on Folsom near 7th, that is a great big laundromat, and a deli. And on Thursday nights, there's a small stage, and comedians come and perform. And it's dozens and dozens of comedians come and perform in this local open mic. And it's been very popular for more than 10 years now. And many, many new comics have their first experiences there on stage.
All right. So you did your first gig at the school, and then people laughed?
No. I like to say I've been doing comedy 10 years, and I've been getting laughs for 9.5 years.
Okay, so in the beginning you didn't get laughs?
Not at all. It was very hard when I began.
To get people to click?
After a while, when I first started going on stage, I would get so nervous I couldn't speak. I would completely freeze up. And I had to work through that stage fright. And the way I worked through it was that my desire was stronger than my fear. I wanted to do stand-up more than I feared doing it. And what broke the ice for me in stand-up was that one comedian would laugh. A comedian would be in the room, and they would laugh at something that I had said. And that told me that they were getting something about me that was funny. And that's where I started to get encouraged that I really could do it.
I see.
And so in the beginning, it was just maybe one person would laugh in the room, and that was enough to begin with.
Did it get better and better?
Yes.
It did, because you pick up what makes people laugh?
Yeah, and it's really more an exploration of what's funny about me to other people, and the material is really secondary to that.
Okay.
The material sort of carries my personality, or that part of my personality that's funny to people.
Oh yeah, because people talk about themselves often.
Yes.
And you discovered little by little what's funny about you?
Yes, and I've eventually found material that would work consistently for me. And so having some reliable material was very helpful.
An average stand-up comedian does it for 10 minutes maximum?
With the open mics and showcases, typically it'll be 5 or 10 minutes at a time, and then professionals will go on and do more time.
Oh, because they have more material?
Yes, and they're more experienced. And so what's called a middle act in professional shows will be 20 to 30 minutes. And then headliners can do 45 minutes to an hour and up to 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I've seen some comedians do. But in the local shows, typically a comedian will get 5 or 10 minutes. And if you can imagine learning a job, a typical full-time job is 40 hours in a week. Imagine having to learn a job 5 or 10 minutes at a time. Okay. It's a very slow way to learn a job.
Okay, so basically, what do you like best, stand-up comedy or your job?
Stand-up comedy. I like the best.
You wish you could do that for a profession?
I don't expect that now. And the profession, as I understand it, would be pretty hard. It's show business of all kinds is very difficult.
It's hard to make a living in it?
Sure. The public is very fickle. One has to work very hard just to stay relevant and stay current and keep the public interested, because there are many others coming along who are also very good and very interesting and taking the public's attention.
Did you ever try to audition for sitcoms?
No. I auditioned for some commercials.
And it worked?
And no, I didn't get the commercials. I made the cameraman laugh pretty well, but that's not what they wanted. So.
But they wanted something else.
Yes.
Have you ever thought of doing your own show, since it's hard to get hired?
I have considered that. Many comedians go on to that. They'll do their own stand-up for a time, and then they'll start producing shows.
Okay. Do you want to produce one?
I don't think so. I've booked a few shows.
It's too much work.
It's a lot of work, and I like to stay friendly with comedians and producers. Sometimes it's hard to stay friendly with people. You'll end up saying no to people who want you to say yes.
You mean if you interview people and you would have to turn them down?
Well, I'm speaking of booking shows, having to book a show every week and decide what comics should be in the show and who shouldn't, or what comics maybe go well together and make a good show. It's a lot of work to do that well, to do it correctly.
So no, producing a show, like come up with an idea for a show and put it on the air and then do a series. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I'm aware of the idea
Of the idea?
maybe doing maybe like a YouTube series or something like that. That
Okay,
yeah.
but you need new material all the time. Is that the problem?
yeah, yeah.
It's
And-
hard. You need good writers.
Well, and good improvisational skills. That's something else I just
Improv?
yeah, to be able to improvise is a great
Multiple
skill.
shows.
Yes, yeah.
What does it take to become a good improviser?
Being able to let go a lot
Of
and
fear?
having the let go of fear and have the courage to just whatever
Just say
off
it?
the top of your head, just let it come out and not.
So
edit.
when you are in a very comfortable situation at home,
Hmm?
can you go on and on for longer than 5 or 10 minutes?
Sometimes, not usually. My ideas occur to me. I'll think of a joke,
Ah,
just one.
yeah.
And I'll write it down immediately.
Oh.
I have my pen and paper out here in case I think of something. I say, oh, I got to keep that.
Or you record it on your memos, whatever.
If I'm driving, I prefer to write them. Mm-hmm.
And then see if it works.
Yes, and then I'll try it.
At the
try it
next
with different
stand-up?
people. Yes.
The open mics are the same as clubs, or they're not the same?
No, the open mic is kind of the entry level. That's kind of
For
the,
people who want to just practice.
Yes, it's for people who want to try it, and sometimes we'll have people come who are kind of thrill seekers. They just want to do it once. It's a bucket list item.
Like at Cafe International, one of those.
Sure. There was a club there is a club out in Pleasanton called Tommy T's that used to have an open mic Monday nights, and there were quite a few people who came just to maybe perform for their coworkers, and it was just kind of a big night for them. It was their one night that they would do stand up, and then they didn't come back because they weren't. They just wanted to do it once.
I see. And basically, so right now you come up with a joke, you write it down, and that lengthen your act?
If the joke works, yeah. If the joke is not good, then it doesn't lengthen my act. It doesn't.
And
get to
then you
stay.
delete it.
Right.
So it's a
But-
trial and error kind of thing?
Yeah. There's trial and error, and there's also some judgment on my part. I tend to decide my set in the minutes before I go on stage, which is not what every comedian does. It's not necessarily the best thing to do, but I kind of get a feel for the room and the audience, and so then I know what material I feel comfortable with in that moment, and so I'll write out my list in the minutes before I go on stage, and I'll use the material that I'm very used to. That feels very safe and it works, but I also have to have the courage to try new things that may not work. And I'm thinking of a new thing that I had happen a few weeks ago. I was watching the news, and the weatherman said temperatures will be in the triple digits and higher. Okay,
Like 100 or more?
1,000.
Triple
Triple digits
is
is
100.
999 is also
No.
triple digits. So,
Oh,
so it was 1,000 degrees that day, I say.
No,
And,
100 is triple.
Yes, and so is 101 and 102.
And 999. Oh, is that the joke?
So I said, it was 1,000 degrees that day. And
No, it was 999.
yeah.
Triple is 999, the highest.
He said triple digits and
Usually-
higher.
Oh, and higher.
And higher.
Like 101, 102, 103.
Yeah. So I studied a lot of math in school, so maybe I'm kind of a math nerd that way, but that struck me as...
Well, people, when they say triple digit in temperature, they mean for 100.
Yes, and I'm sure that's what he was thinking. And so I was being... It was a math joke.
Extreme, going to the extreme.
Yeah, what's called hyperbole, right? Taking it to the extreme. So,
Yeah, okay, so you made
yes.
a joke out of it?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's working.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
not here, it's not working, but for the audiences, it's working.
Who is your best audience? Young 20-something, 30-something, 40-something?
The 20-somethings, not so much. I think it's more the 40s. I think
The 40.
The 20-somethings, I think, maybe see me as someone maybe their father's age, and they're not comfortable. So maybe when I get older and I'm their grandfather's age, maybe they'll like me more. But no, I tend to do best with 40s and up. And some of that may have to do with my favorite comedians are kind of from the earlier eras, from the 60s and 50s. And in fact, I love the very early films of Chaplin and Keaton and W.C. Fields and Laurel and Hardy, and so the very early comedy, the Marx Brothers. So that's a lot of where my humor is kind of shaped, is in watching that work. But I enjoy the modern stuff as well.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you would say, since you have been doing it for 10 years, would you say you are a pro?
No, I'm on the amateur circuit, and I don't travel the country with my comedy,
Yet.
and I don't get paid. And professionals have to be able to do comedy in many different forms. They have to be able to host shows, which I don't like to do, and
Host a show like the Late Night Show with Jimmy Fallon?
yeah, well, that's the top. That's the very best hosting there is.
He's really funny.
Yes, he's very good. But hosting local shows or competitions, or hosting maybe award ceremonies and that sort of thing.
You can do that.
And performing for, say, corporate groups in, say, a conference room that has a low ceiling and fluorescent lighting, and the bosses are in the room and nobody's laughing.
Then
but they
you
pay
can
very
lighten
well.
up that place.
Right, and those are not things I'm...
And you don't get paid for those.
those pay very well, I hear.
Oh, you do get paid.
Yeah, yes. I understand that corporate work pays very well.
Oh,
But they
okay.
tend to be
So
very
there
hard.
is a little pay for you.
Not for me, for professional comedians.
Oh,
Professionals make a living at it,
okay.
and I do not.
So it would take a little bit longer to work at it?
It would take a lot, yeah. And and many people go from stand-up comedy to other things. Some of the comedians I know have gone on to become writers in L.A.
Yeah, are you good?
And, I might be able to write for a show, or at least do punch-up work if they have something written already, and I say, well, you could make it funnier this way, or add a joke. So I've considered that work. But
So, this seems like something you would keep on doing
yes.
just for the fun of it.
Yes, and
Okay.
that's something about it too. That anything that's creative or artistic for me, I don't like to subject it to the pressures of making a
money.
living. Yeah.
You just want to do it.
Yes,
And you think it might lead somewhere.
it has led to many things,
Oh, really?
including this.
Yeah.
But it's
Is it good for a regular job interview to have a sense of humor?
yes. In fact, it's on my resume.
That you're a
I'm I'm
comedian?
a comedian, and a recent interview I had, the woman was thrilled that I had
That you had a sense of humor?
that I could do comedy, and yeah.
But it had nothing to do with your job.
Not directly, no.
But
And
maybe it was like customer relations, so you have to talk to people.
it shows personality, where in the business world people tend to kind of suppress their personality and keep it hidden.
Okay. So you have a good sense of humor. You can take a joke, even if it's
Yes.
on you.
Yes, and meeting new people.
Do you think making fun of yourself is a good quality?
I found it essential in stand-up. When I start my set, some of the joke has to be on me.
Okay. So, and people laugh at you indirectly.
Yeah. And I find that establishes comfort, and then I can make fun of other things.
Okay. So, I never heard you, so it's all mystery to me. But what do you like to joke about?
First, I joke about, generally I'll start with some things that happened to me as a comedian, that comedy's been a strange experience. That sometimes people will approach comics after the show, and they'll say, oh, I liked your set, or something like that. And this one day a woman came up to me and says, I didn't like you at first, and then she just kept walking. And when I say that, for some reason, when I say that one-on-one, nobody laughs, but that usually works for audiences. They'll usually laugh at that. They'll say, and so little insults I might have had delivered to me, or ways I've lost a job. I had a job end one time when I went to work, and there was a cake sitting there, and the cake said, "Good luck, we'll miss you." And I asked my manager, "Who's leaving?" He said, "You are." I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. So,
and then how did you take that?
which the losing my job?
Yeah.
Oh, not well.
Not well.
No.
It's no longer a joke, right?
It's a joke now. It gets a
Oh,
laugh.
this is part of your curriculum to say you are, and gets people to laugh.
Yes, yes, and
So the joke is on you.
yes, yes. The joke is on me.
Even
Something happened
if
to
it
me.
hurts sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a saying that comedy is tragedy plus time,
Yeah.
and I would rather say that comedy is tragedy plus healing. Once you've kind of
Oh,
gotten
when you
over.
can laugh about it, that means you healed.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the psychologists say that's the last stage of healing from something is when you can laugh.
Oh,
at
to
it.
laugh about it.
Yes. That's-
It was very serious at the time, but now I can just think it was a joke.
Yes, yes. And so,
It's true. If you go in time lapse
Uh-huh.
and you think about things that you took so seriously,
Yes.
and now you laugh about them and say, "Oh, I was so stupid. It was just meant to be."
sure, sure.
But
And-
at the moment, you don't react that way
Yes.
because you are in the moment.
Yes. Well, one of the funnier topics that comics have explored is the children's fear of monsters, and remembering what monsters they were afraid of.
Oh, and then they laugh about
and
it?
now we can laugh, yeah, because we're not afraid of the monsters now. Yes, so that's a great example, I think, of something that was, very upsetting at the time,
Hmm.
but we grow past it, and then we can laugh about it.
Oh, I mean, everybody has an experience that you just described that they get fired.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you know anybody who didn't get fired? It's impossible. Everybody gets either fired, laid off, whatever. This is like modern disposable diaper time kind of society. We use you and we get rid of you kind of thing. It's just part of the culture. No time to say goodbye. They just say, "Here's the door," kind of thing. But then
Yeah.
people are in shock because they get attached to their job, right? So at the time, there's no laughing matter because it hits you like a brick wall and you have bills to pay, whatever. So, but everybody went through that. So that's why they laugh about it.
I think it's more true for that joke. The people who have not gone through it laugh. I've had people tell me, I cringed when you said that joke.
Oh,
Because
because
I
they
know
didn't
that
go
thing.
through it yet?
Yes, and it's because they did.
Oh,
because
because
it's
they
very
did.
real for them. And it really is a very serious matter these days, how employees are not valued and are
Okay.
treated as disposable commodities.
Disposable diapers, I call it.
Yes, yeah, and that's how you feel.
yeah.
And it's really not a laughing matter. It's
It's
kind
not.
of
It's very, very harsh on the spot.
Yes.
And then you heal, of course. But some people take 2 weeks to recover, or even more.
or years. I mean, I've joined in job search groups when I'm looking for my day job.
And people were depressed.
I met one woman who'd worked for a bank, the same bank, for 15 years, and had lost her job.
And she was distraught?
She was having a very hard time.
Because you get attached to people, too.
Sure, and that's 15 years she was not looking for work and didn't have job search skills or have maybe
That's
not
a
have-
tough one.
It's very hard. So
Wow.
it's quite serious, but in order to have that little joke, that little bit of funniness about it, it's a way to bring it on stage and kind of shine a light on that reality and laugh for a moment about it. But there's a very serious side to that as well.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't know. You're right. You have touched on a very hot button when you take that joke, right? Mm-hmm. But even
Yeah.
though it's a short joke, how long that joke lasts? Like a few minutes?
It's probably 10 seconds. you
Yeah,
know?
but it hits a button.
Yeah, yeah. Some people cringe. Some people say, ooh.
Because it reminds them something.
Yeah.
So rather than tell that joke, is there a way to say it in a more funny way?
That I think is as funny as it can be. And I think if I were to develop that story and to make it funnier, it might be a story of revenge against the boss or the company. But it wouldn't be anything
Light.
too violent or anything. I think the best revenge I ever saw at a company was a man who had left the company and hated the company. He started his own company and started
I have
poaching.
a joke. Oh.
He started poaching employees from the old company
Oh.
and really hurt him. and they had really asked for it because they had really abused their employees. So he caused quite a disruption, and it was perfectly legal. But you were thinking of something
it's
just
a
now?
little bit hard on people, right? There's a joke around that line. If a boss, it's a joke I heard. If a boss tells you you're late, you can rebuttal by saying late for what? Because there's nothing to be late for, right? It's just the clock showing that you're late. But there's nothing to be late about. I mean, nothing's happening. So if a boss tell you you're late, you say late for what? Because nothing is happening, right?
Yeah, it can vary. I know in some of my jobs have been very strict about time.
Time, yeah. And then if someone tells you you're late, you look around and you say late for what? So that's the joke. That's a rebuttal.
Yes, and that's when they buy you the cake that says "Good luck, we'll miss you."
Then they say
Yeah.
this guy's too witty.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of him.
Yes. Reason for leaving. I had a sense of humor. That's what happened there.
Yeah. I mean, but some people, whether there's something happening or not, they want you on time.
Yeah.
There's no flexibility.
When I worked in call centers, they were on very
You have
strict
to
time.
be on time.
Yeah.
Call center, I can understand because calls are coming. But other settings where you can do your job later in the afternoon, it's okay to be late because it's you can flex it later.
Yeah.
So there's different jobs where it's important and others where it's not important at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, we all go through that, right? Because we all had jobs in our life. And so are all your joke about the work?
I've had many different jobs, and
Yeah.
so some of my audience members have referred to me as the comedian who had a lot of different jobs. I've had 30 jobs in 30 years, roughly.
Yeah, so you change a lot.
And yeah, I've had to. There've been a lot of changes, and that's kind of a sign of the times as well. More than half of the companies I've worked for no longer exist, or the jobs no longer exist, or they've been sent overseas. Many of the jobs I've had were just temporary jobs, and they weren't expected to last. But instability in work is, again, it's a very serious subject that I haven't found a way to joke about yet. And I used to blame myself for that long sequence of jobs. And now as I look back, I see, a lot of that's just the instability of today's workplace.
Oh. So anyway, what is your other theme?
Theme in my comedy?
You brought up a couple more subjects, I assume.
Yeah. There's silly things. Well, I mentioned the like the weatherman saying the temperatures will be in the
so
triple digits.
people
And,
say silly things on the air?
yeah, and sometimes they're just kind of things that maybe the way I hear about them makes them sound funny. For example, I heard that, vitamins. We have a lot of ways of getting vitamins aside from just food, right? We can take vitamin pills. We can go to the doctor and get a shot of at least vitamin B12, or they make inhalers for vitamins. And I heard that someone had made a vitamin patch. And so I thought, well, that's for people who want to quit vitamins. Just like there's a nicotine patch, they've got a vitamin patch. And so that's another one audiences might laugh at. See, this is what I was talking about, where if there isn't an audience, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
You perform better in front of your audience. That's why you didn't want to do it alone here.
It's necessary, yes.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
I understand that because I cannot perform alone. I need someone laugh back to encourage me to do better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I don't rehearse very much, and many comedians don't rehearse because
They want to try it on people.
Well, sure, to be at home by yourself telling the jokes and nobody's laughing.
Yeah, then you don't know if you have been funny or not.
You can train yourself for silence.
Yeah. We can do a show together and see if it works. But like you say, we should try it first on open mic and see if there is a joke there. Maybe we both went through some similar experience at work.
Yes.
But anyway, so the job of stand-up comedy could be just a hobby, like you said. And you keep doing it because you feel some satisfaction out of it.
Yes.
That you make people laugh. And then it could turn into something better.
Yes.
Okay. Do you foresee yourself going further?
At least getting better at it.
Okay.
I want to be a better and better comedian.
To be better and better, you have to practice a lot more.
Yes, and stage time is what the comedians say. It's very important to get on stage in front of people as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, the more you practice, the better. Practice makes perfect kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes. And it's really even beyond practice because it's always different. It's more experience. You have to build the experience with lots of different people.
Do you have a place where you can practice as much as you want?
Not really, because you can't.
You have to put yourself on the list.
Yeah, and you have to have audience, and that's the big challenge for local comedy is getting audience members to be in front of members of the public who are not comedians.
No, but if there is an open mic kind of setting, you get on the list, and if they see you good, you can come back as much as you want.
Sure. Yeah. I have.
Does that happen to you before?
Yeah, there's well, we mentioned that open mics are kind of the entry level for comedians.
And
Well,
then?
the next level up is what's called a showcase.
Okay, you showcase.
And that's
okay.
where if you've done a number of open mics and people start noticing that you're good,
Okay.
then they might invite you to be in their showcase, which is pre-booked. You get kind of selected for those.
Okay.
And those can be very long shows, and you might only get 5 or 10 minutes in those shows, but it's more. And those shows are promoted more to audiences, and they may charge the audience admission. So you might get in front of, 10, 20, 100 people in a showcase.
Okay.
And they're more members of the public. Because comedians are terrible audience. If you perform for a room full of comedians, they'll just sit and look at you. And they'll be looking at their notes, and they'll be making notes, and they just stare at you. They don't laugh. Because they're always analyzing. Or they're thinking about their own comedy.
Yeah, you want people who are not totally aware of what you're doing.
Yeah, you want, it's
You
a
want to
little,
surprise people.
yes, it's a little bit like with the magicians. There's a little something like sleight of hand or misdirection in comedy. There's a kind of little bit of trickery involved. And comedians, when they know that, a lot of times jokes won't work for them because they know how the joke works. Just like between magicians when they know how the trick works.
Wow. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I never heard you. So maybe I'll make an effort tonight or another night to come see you because I have a dinner for tonight. But if I go see you tonight, I'll get a better idea of who you are. But is there a joke that always gets people to laugh that you can tell us or no?
Well, lately I've been telling people, at networking events and stuff, I say, I'm a comedian, but I need a day job because I'm not that funny.
Oh, and then people laugh at
and
that.
people have been laughing at that, so yeah.
Because they say, just like the joke that says, don't, when they hear people sing, they say, don't quit your day job kind of thing?
Yes.
Same line, along the same line.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hear people perform on the street sometime, and I feel like telling them, don't quit your day job, because they just want to make a little money on the street.
Yes.
But their voice is not that good.
Yeah.
Because if you have talent, people will notice real quickly, don't you think?
Well, I've just been reading a book that's about that many of the most successful people were kind of thought not to have talent early on.
And then they were noticed anyway?
Sure. And, I was 39 years old when I started in comedy, and, I would get laughs amongst friends,
Okay.
but I wouldn't usually make the class laugh. I wasn't a class clown.
Okay.
And I think a lot of my friends who were class clowns who made the class laugh,
They
didn't
didn't-
go
they
on to be
didn't do
comedians.
comedian.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they decided it's not for them.
Or they just got more serious. They grew up, got more responsible. I don't know.
Well, if I videotape you in front of an audience, then I'll patch it with this interview. This way it will complete the show.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, it was a pleasure to get to know you better.
Thank you. Likewise.
And hopefully I'll see you perform. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.